Beneath the river plains of modern Pakistan and northwest India lie the remains of one of humanity's greatest forgotten civilizations. Its cities rivaled those of ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. Its engineers solved problems that many societies would not master again for thousands of years. Yet today, we cannot confidently read a single sentence its people wrote. No king can be identified with certainty. No victorious ruler dominates towering monuments. No great conqueror claims credit for its remarkable achievements. Instead, an extraordinary civilization speaks to us only through silent streets, weathered bricks, and thousands of undeciphered symbols, whose secrets remain locked away after 4,000 years. How could one of history's largest civilizations flourish across nearly 1 million square kilometers, influence millions of people, and then fade so completely that entire cities vanished beneath dust for millennia? The story of the Indus Valley Civilization is far more than the rise and fall of ancient cities. It is a story of remarkable ingenuity, quiet cooperation, and one of archaeology's greatest enduring mysteries. At its heart lies a lesson that echoes throughout history. Civilizations are measured not only by what they build, but by how well they adapt when the world around them begins to change. Around 7000 BC, while much of humanity still lived in scattered hunting camps or small farming villages, a small community known today as Mehrgarh began taking root along the fertile plains of what is now western Pakistan. As morning sunlight spread across the fields, families cultivated wheat and barley, domesticated cattle, crafted pottery, and slowly transformed seasonal camps into permanent settlements. They were not building an empire. They were laying the first foundations of one of humanity's greatest urban experiments. For thousands of years, rivers descending from the towering Himalayas carried rich sediments across vast floodplains. Annual floods renewed fertile soils, creating an environment capable of supporting steadily growing populations. Villages multiplied, farmers exchanged surplus harvests, craftsmen refined new skills, merchants traveled farther each generation. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, isolated communities became connected through commerce, shared traditions, and an expanding network of cooperation. Unlike many ancient civilizations that celebrated powerful monarchs or military conquest, the emerging Indus world appears to have followed a remarkably different path. Archaeologists have uncovered little evidence of enormous royal palaces, lavish royal tombs, or monuments glorifying individual rulers. Instead, the archaeological record points towards something unusual for its age. Carefully planned communities, standardized construction, and an apparent emphasis on civic organization over personal power. Whether this reflected a different political system, a unique governing tradition, or something still hidden within its undeciphered script, remains one of the civilization's greatest unanswered questions. By roughly 3300 BC, these growing communities entered what scholars call the early Harappan period. Small settlements expanded into thriving regional centers. Brickmakers refined standardized construction techniques. Craftsmen perfected bead-making, metallurgy, and pottery. Merchants established wider trading networks that stretched across increasing distances. Piece by piece, generation by generation, the foundations of an extraordinary civilization were taking shape. Soon, these settlements would become home to some of the most sophisticated cities the ancient world had ever seen. By approximately 2600 BC, the transformation was unmistakable. Across the fertile plains of the Indus River and the now vanished Ghaggar-Hakra river system, carefully planned cities rose from the landscape with a level of organization that would astonish even modern urban planners. While many ancient cities expanded gradually and irregularly over centuries, the great cities of the Indus Valley appear to have been deliberately designed from the very beginning. Harappa emerged as a major center of administration and manufacturing. Hundreds of miles to the south, Mohenjo-daro grew into one of the largest cities of the Bronze Age. Together with remarkable cities such as Dholavira, known for its extraordinary water management system, and the thriving port settlement of Lothal, these urban centers formed part of an immense network that eventually included well over 1,000 known settlements. At its height, the civilization stretched across nearly 1 million square kilometers, making it one of the largest Bronze Age civilizations on Earth, rivaling both ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia in geographic scale. Its greatest innovation was not a towering pyramid or a colossal temple. It was the city itself. Wide avenues intersected at nearly perfect right angles, creating organized grids that maximize movement and efficiency. Standardized baked bricks were manufactured according to remarkably consistent proportions across cities separated by hundreds of miles. Public wells supplied clean water to neighborhoods throughout the cities. Covered drainage systems carried wastewater beneath the streets, creating sanitation infrastructure unmatched anywhere else in the ancient world. Many homes even contained private bathing areas, connected directly to the public drainage network, a level of urban convenience that would remain uncommon in many parts of the world for thousands of years. This extraordinary consistency reveals something remarkable. Somewhere within this vast civilization existed a highly effective system capable of maintaining common standards for brick sizes, weights, measurements, and construction practices across enormous distances. Yet unlike the pharaohs of Egypt or the kings of Mesopotamia, the people responsible remain almost completely anonymous. Thousands of carved seals preserve their writing, but because the Indus script has never been conclusively deciphered, their names, laws, beliefs, and perhaps even their history remain frustratingly beyond our reach. Trade became another powerful engine of prosperity. Merchants transported copper, precious stones, timber, shells, ivory, cotton textiles, and brilliantly crafted beads across deserts, mountains, and seas. Indus seals have been discovered in Mesopotamian cities, where merchants referred to a distant trading partner called Maluha, widely believed to be the Indus civilization itself. Ships likely crossed the Arabian Sea, while caravans traversed rugged mountain passes, linking South Asia to one of humanity's earliest international trading networks. Beneath this expanding commerce lay an equally impressive agricultural foundation. Farmers mastered seasonal floodwaters that nourished vast fields of wheat, barley, peas, sesame, dates, and some of the world's earliest cultivated cotton. Reliable harvests supported growing populations and allowed specialized craftsmen to devote their lives to producing exquisite jewelry, ceramics, bronze tools, and finely drilled carnelian beads admired across the ancient world. As prosperity spread, city after city joined an interconnected civilization held together less by conquest than by cooperation, common standards, and remarkable organization. It represented a different model of power, one built not upon monuments to rulers, but upon systems that improved everyday life for ordinary people. For centuries, that quiet strength would allow the Indus Valley Civilization to flourish. Yet beneath its extraordinary stability, the first unseen challenges were already beginning to emerge. By about 2500 BC, the Indus Valley Civilization had reached a level of sophistication that few societies in human history had ever achieved. Across an immense landscape stretching from the foothills of the Himalayas to the shores of the Arabian Sea, and from present-day eastern Afghanistan deep into western India, millions of people lived within a civilization united not by conquest, but by common standards, thriving commerce, and extraordinary civic organization. At its height, it covered nearly 1 million square kilometers, making it one of the largest civilizations of the Bronze Age. At sunrise, the cities came to life with quiet precision. Merchants opened workshops, potters fired kilns, metalworkers shaped bronze tools. Bead makers patiently drilled tiny carnelian stones with astonishing accuracy. Farmers entered surrounding fields, while traders prepared caravans bound for distant lands. Rather than monuments celebrating kings, The civilization's greatest achievement unfolded every day through the smooth operation of urban life itself. Its cities reflected a philosophy that appeared to value the well-being of the community above displays of individual power. Streets remained carefully aligned. Public wells supplied neighborhoods with reliable fresh water. Covered drains carried wastewater safely beneath the streets, improving sanitation centuries before comparable systems appeared elsewhere. Even today, many modern cities would admire the practicality of such planning. At the heart of Mohenjo-daro stood one of the ancient world's most remarkable structures, the Great Bath. Carefully waterproofed with precisely fitted bricks and bitumen, the massive pool demonstrated engineering skill far beyond what many would expect from a civilization over 4,000 years old. Although its exact purpose remains unknown, archaeologists believe it may have played an important ceremonial or ritual role, suggesting that cleanliness, community, and shared traditions occupied an important place in daily life. Builders achieved an astonishing level of consistency across enormous distances. Standardized baked bricks appeared in settlements separated by hundreds of miles. Stone weights followed carefully calibrated mathematical ratios, allowing merchants to conduct trade with remarkable confidence wherever they traveled. Workshops produced bronze tools, shell ornaments, finely painted pottery, jewelry, and exquisitely drilled carnelian beads, whose craftsmanship continues to impress modern specialists. Such precision could only have been sustained by generations of highly skilled artisans working within remarkably organized systems of production. Trade carried Indus influence far beyond its borders. At the coastal settlement of Lothal, whose impressive dockyard may represent one of humanity's earliest maritime facilities, merchants loaded cargo bound for distant shores. Ships likely crossed the Arabian Sea toward Mesopotamia, while caravans wound through mountain passes carrying timber, copper, precious stones, ivory, cotton textiles, and beautifully crafted goods. Mesopotamian records describe prosperous trade with a distant land called Meluha, where distinctive merchants arrived bearing exotic cargo from the east. Agriculture remained the civilization's quiet foundation. Fertile floodplains produced abundant harvests of wheat, barley, peas, sesame, dates, and some of the world's earliest cultivated cotton. Herds of cattle, buffalo, sheep, and goats supplied food, labor, and valuable resources. Granaries stored surplus harvests that protected communities during poor seasons while supporting thousands of people whose livelihoods no longer depended directly upon farming. Yet perhaps the civilization's greatest achievement lies not in what archaeologists have discovered, but in what they have failed to find. There are no colossal statues celebrating conquering emperors, no royal tombs overflowing with unimaginable wealth, no triumphal monuments depicting vast armies crushing defeated enemies. Weapons certainly existed, but they occupy surprisingly little space within the archaeological record compared with other Bronze Age civilizations. Instead, nearly every major discovery points toward administration, commerce, engineering, craftsmanship, and careful urban planning as the defining characteristics of Indus society. Thousands of beautifully carved seals depict bulls, elephants, rhinoceroses, mythical creatures, and mysterious inscriptions unlike any other writing system on Earth. For more than a century, linguists, archaeologists, and computer scientists have tried to unlock their meaning. Perhaps those tiny symbols preserve the names of rulers, perhaps they record laws, religious beliefs, commercial transactions, or stories long forgotten. The answers may have been sitting before us all along, waiting for the day someone finally learns how to read them. For nearly 7 centuries, this remarkable civilization appeared almost timeless. Prosperity fueled innovation. Innovation strengthened trade. Trade enriched cities, and shared standards united one of humanity's largest civilizations. Few could have imagined that beneath this extraordinary stability, invisible forces were already beginning to reshape the world around them. Civilizations rarely collapse the moment danger appears. More often, warning signs emerge quietly, hidden beneath years of success that make them difficult to recognize. At first, life across the Indus Valley may have appeared much the same as it always had. Markets continued to open, workshops remained busy, farmers still harvested their fields, merchants still crossed rivers and deserts carrying goods between distant cities. Yet beneath that familiar routine, the landscape itself was beginning to change. Around 2200 BC, the dependable natural rhythms that had sustained the civilization for centuries became increasingly uncertain. Rivers that had long delivered life-giving floods no longer behaved as they once had. Some gradually shifted their courses, others weakened or dried altogether. Communities built beside dependable waterways suddenly found themselves facing an unfamiliar and unsettling reality. The Indus civilization had always depended upon balance. Agriculture relied upon seasonal flooding. Trade depended upon rivers that linked distant settlements. Cities required enormous quantities of fresh water to support dense populations. When nature began altering that delicate balance, every part of society slowly began to feel the effects. Climate appears to have played an increasingly important role. Evidence preserved in ancient lake sediments, cave formations, and fossilized pollen suggests that monsoon patterns gradually weakened across parts of the region. Rainfall became less predictable. Growing seasons shortened. Harvests likely became more uncertain. A civilization that had prospered through reliable agricultural abundance suddenly faced an environment that demanded constant adaptation. The greatest challenge, however, may not have been any single drought or shifting river. It was the growing accumulation of many small disruptions. The civilization's greatest strength, its vast interconnected network, now became increasingly difficult to maintain. Standardized production depended upon stable supply chains. Long-distance trade relied upon predictable transportation routes. Specialized craftsmen depended upon steady deliveries of raw materials. Cities relied upon surrounding farming communities for food. As environmental pressures spread across the region, disruptions in one area could ripple outward through merchants, workshops, and neighboring settlements hundreds of miles away. Archaeologists also observed subtle but revealing changes within many cities. New construction became less orderly. Buildings were subdivided into smaller living spaces. Public drainage systems received less maintenance than before. Some neighborhoods were gradually abandoned while families relocated towards smaller rural communities, closer to dependable water supplies. These were not signs of sudden catastrophe. They were signs of people adapting to a world that was slowly becoming less predictable. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the Indus decline is what archaeologists have not discovered. There is little evidence of a massive final battle. No widespread destruction layers suggest a civilization consumed by invading armies. No single disaster explains the disappearance of one of humanity's greatest urban societies. Instead, the archaeological record reveals something far more unsettling. The civilization was not defeated in a single moment. It slowly outgrew the environmental conditions that had once made its remarkable success possible. The world that had rewarded stability was changing faster than its institutions could respond. The same systems that had united nearly 1 million square kilometers through cooperation, shared standards, and careful planning were beginning to strain beneath pressures that no administrator, merchant, or city planner could fully control. The greatest civilization of the Bronze Age had not yet fallen, but its foundations were quietly beginning to shift. The end of the Indus Valley Civilization did not arrive with a single battle, a conquering empire, or a dramatic final siege. Instead, it unfolded so gradually that generations may never have realized they were living through the final chapter of one of humanity's greatest civilizations. Between roughly 1900 and 1700 BC, many of the civilization's largest cities began to change. Mohenjo-daro, once among the greatest urban centers of the Bronze Age, saw neighborhoods slowly abandoned as fewer people remained to maintain its carefully planned streets. Public buildings fell into disrepair. The remarkable drainage systems that had once symbolized civic pride received less attention. New homes were built hastily within older structures, replacing centuries of orderly planning with practical improvisation. Harappa experienced a similar transformation. Across the civilization, standardized brick production declined. Workshops that had once produced exquisite jewelry, finely drilled beads, and precision-crafted goods reduced their output or disappeared altogether. The carved seals that had traveled across distant markets became increasingly rare as long-distance commerce weakened. At first, each change may have seemed manageable. A poorer harvest one year, a river that shifted a little farther away, a trading partner that stopped arriving, a neighborhood with fewer residents than before. But over generations, countless small disruptions accumulated into something far greater than any single crisis. Environmental change appears to have been the driving force behind much of this transformation. As rivers gradually altered their courses and monsoon patterns continued to weaken, agriculture became increasingly difficult to sustain. Some settlements suddenly found themselves miles from dependable water sources that had once flowed nearby. Others experienced cycles of destructive flooding, followed by prolonged drought. The landscape that had nurtured the civilization for centuries no longer behaved as it once had. Faced with these growing challenges, many families chose adaptation over resistance. Rather than remaining inside increasingly difficult cities, they gradually dispersed into smaller farming communities closer to dependable water supplies and productive land. Urban life slowly gave way to more localized settlements, better suited to an environment that had become less predictable. This was not a desperate flight from catastrophe. It was a gradual reorganization of society in response to a changing world. For generations, scholars believed invading armies had destroyed the civilization. Today, modern archaeology paints a far more complex picture. While migration and interaction with neighboring peoples undoubtedly occurred, there is little evidence of widespread warfare capable of explaining the decline of such an immense civilization. Instead, researchers increasingly view its collapse as the result of multiple interconnected pressures: changing climate, shifting rivers, declining agricultural productivity, weakening trade networks, and the immense challenge of maintaining one of the ancient world's largest urban civilizations after its environmental foundation had begun to unravel. Ironically, the civilization's greatest strength became one of its greatest vulnerabilities. Its prosperity depended upon connection. Commerce linked distant cities. Shared standards united vast regions. Specialized industries relied upon reliable transportation and stable harvests. When environmental disruption spread across the landscape, those interconnected systems struggled to adapt. As trade weakened, resources became scarcer. As agriculture became less dependable, cities became harder to sustain. As populations dispersed, the institutions that had coordinated urban life for centuries gradually dissolved. By around 1300 BC, the magnificent cities that had once represented the pinnacle of Bronze Age urban planning had largely fallen silent. Their baked brick walls slowly crumbled beneath wind, rain, and drifting sediments. Wells filled with earth, streets disappeared beneath layers of dust. Century after century, nature quietly reclaimed what human ingenuity had built. Eventually, entire cities vanished from memory. For nearly 4,000 years, one of humanity's greatest civilizations slept beneath the earth, waiting for the modern world to discover it once again. Although its cities disappeared, the civilization itself did not. Its people continued living across the Indian subcontinent, carrying agricultural knowledge, craftsmanship, traditions, and ways of life into later societies. The great urban centers faded, but the descendants of the civilization remained part of the region's continuing human story. History remembers the disappearance of the cities, yet the people themselves endured. Then, in the early 20th century, archaeologists uncovered Harappa and Mohenjo-daro beneath centuries of accumulated soil, revealing a civilization that had been almost completely forgotten. Each new excavation transformed our understanding of the ancient world. What historians once believed were the earliest great civilizations could no longer tell the whole story. The Indus Valley Civilization had reclaimed its place among humanity's greatest achievements. Its influence reaches far beyond archaeology. Its carefully planned cities demonstrated that sophisticated urban life could flourish through cooperation as much as conquest. Its standardized construction, precise systems of weights and measures, advanced sanitation, organized commerce, and international trade revealed a society whose greatest accomplishments improved everyday life, rather than glorifying individual rulers. Few ancient civilizations left behind so little evidence of kings, yet accomplished so much. Perhaps its greatest mystery still waits to be solved. Thousands of carved seals preserve an undeciphered script unlike any other in history. Somewhere within those tiny inscriptions may lie the names of leaders, the stories of families, the laws that governed cities, or the beliefs that united millions of people. Every archaeological season brings new discoveries, and with them the possibility that one day the civilization may finally speak in its own voice after 4,000 years of silence. Yet its greatest lesson is already clear. For centuries, the Indus Valley Civilization appeared almost invincible. Its engineering was extraordinary. Its cities were among the finest on Earth. Its trade networks stretched across continents. Its institutions created remarkable stability for generations. But even the most sophisticated civilization cannot remain unchanged when the world around it is transformed. Today, millions of people live across the same river plains where Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira, and Lothal once flourished. Beneath modern towns, ancient fields, and shifting riverbeds lie the foundations of a civilization that helped define humanity's earliest urban age. Though many of its secrets remain buried, its achievements continue to inspire archaeologists, engineers, historians, and city planners around the world. The rise and fall of the Indus Valley Civilization reminds us that greatness is never measured solely by monuments, wealth, or power. It is measured by the ideas a civilization leaves behind, and by its ability to adapt when the world inevitably changes. Because history's greatest civilizations are remembered not only for what they built, but for what they teach every generation that follows.